watching Capital Connection from the Illinois State Capitol.
The biggest battle in Springfield is over the future of the state's income tax. Should it stay flat where it's at now or move to a progressive income tax? You would likely get a say at a ballot in November 2020. Joining us now to take a look at that push now is Senator Dan McConchie, a Republican from Hawthorn Woods. You oppose this plan.
We do?
The entire Senate GOP, and I think all of the House Republicans as well.
Yep.
So in this big fight, it seems that the Democrats have a big campaign. They're pushing it. Governor Pritzker's sort of campaign arm is also advocating for it on the airwaves and in public. And you sort of filed a counterpunch, if I can call it that, last week. Or maybe an opening negotiation. I don't know how you'll characterize it, but while we're cracking open the state's constitution to change it with this amendment, you've suggested adding another amendment. Outline for us what that is.
Sure. So right now, 15 states require a supermajority in order to raise taxes. And so what the governor is proposing is to change the structure for our own constitutional system. In order to do that, as you mentioned, we have to crack open the Constitution. That requires a supermajority of legislators and also a supermajority of voters to put that into place. Now, the issue is that right now he has put forward a set of rates and brackets for this new system. And
everybody that makes $250,000 a year or more would pay higher into the state's income tax. Everybody who makes that or less, he claims, would pay less.
Right.
Than their current income tax rate of 4.95%.
So he's asking a supermajority of the legislature as well as the people to approve this new system based upon these specific rates. However, in order to change either the rates or the brackets going forward, it would only require a simple majority of the legislature to make those changes in the future. So my question to the governor is that the governor is sincere. He has stated that changing to this system and changing to these rates is going to solve Illinois' problems. The problem is that we've heard this before. We've had a tax increase a couple of years ago, raised taxes on everyone. We had temporary tax increase in 2011. That was good for 4 years. That was supposed to solve our problems. Those didn't do it, right? We're 2 years out from the last tax increase, and the legislature is back saying we need more revenue.
Didn't those amplify the regressive nature of a flat tax that applies to a greater share of a person's income that doesn't have, I mean, to a person whose paycheck is mostly going to diapers and school books, and it's pretty much all gone, there's less left over to go to taxes. Isn't that the whole argument? The governor's
proposal isn't to lower those rates.
It is, actually.
Virtually much. There's very little. I mean, if you look at graduated tax rates in other states, some of them are 1 or 2%. Or some, if you're at a certain level, you don't pay any tax. The governor's not proposing that.
Is there a level to which he could cut that down, 1, 2%, that might earn Republican support in a progressive structure?
I couldn't speak for the caucus in regards to that. I don't know what that proposal would be. My first question to the governor is the governor states that he believes this is going to solve, having the rich, quote unquote, pay their fair share is going to solve the financial problems that we have in the state. But let me just recite the fact. We have a $3.2 billion structural deficit with our standard budget right now. We have over $130 billion unfunded pension liability. He's claiming that this is going to solve the problems that we have going forward. And I'm just saying, if that's true, if that's really going to solve these problems and bring in the revenue that's needed, then he should not have a problem with, if he's asking a supermajority to change the system, to say that it'll require a supermajority going forward to change anything in the future.
Let's look at that, because right now it only takes a simple majority for the State House in both chambers to raise that tax. But I believe that the State House has only raised the income tax twice in the last 30 years.
Well,
isn't it already really hard to do? Because it's not because of the number of votes you need, but because of the action you're taking.
Well, but that has been because we've had a flat income tax. Because if you're going to raise rates, you're going to raise it on wealthy people, on middle income people, and poor people at the same rate.
So everybody can hate it together.
Exactly. So whenever you break that apart with a graduated system, and we've seen this in other states, right? When you break that apart, let me just say last year on the Senate floor, we voted for about $1.6 billion of new spending just in the Senate on nice-to-have programs. Okay, I've been asked by newspapers, well, why did you oppose this or that? Well, it's nice to have, but we didn't have the money for it. It is hard to raise taxes when you're raising it on everybody. But as soon as you break that apart, it's easier to say, well, this nice to have thing over here, maybe we need, maybe we don't. We can now pay for that by just raising it on a small segment of people that we think can afford it.
Speaker Madigan responded to your proposal and your press conference outlining this plan to require a supermajority to raise any tax at all. That's to raise an existing tax or to add a new tax, I believe. Any new tax whatsoever would require a supermajority, and that's 2/3 majority in your plan. He said his spokesman told us that he's not aware of your current proposal, but typically, and I'm paraphrasing here, not in favor of giving the minority party outsized control. Wouldn't that requiring the 2/3 majority essentially deal Republicans into a conversation where right now the Republicans just aren't winning elections very well in Illinois?
So what we did was modeled this after other states. Wisconsin has a 2/3 majority. California has a 2/3 majority requirement. Missouri, these are states on our borders that they all, well, not California, but the others that have graduated tax rates, and they require supermajority to raise it. Now, what does that do? What that does is say that raising taxes is not going to be the first resort that we have to solve financial problems.
But isn't California in a better position to tie their hands like that with those restraints because they have a massive budget surplus? How long has it been since Illinois can say that?
Well, but they did not put that in place when they had massive budget surpluses, right? They've actually raised taxes under this regime and put themselves in that situation with 2/3 majority requirement. What it does is ensure that if you're going to raise taxes, you can only do so in an environment in which you have broad public support in order to do it.
Your whole plan here, your whole point is based on the fact that Governor Pritzker right now is saying my tax increase is only going to apply to 3% or less of the state population. He's on the record.
Right.
He's on the record saying that he's got big charts and marketing material, and it's all out there. Your plan is essentially, your line of attack here is that you're saying he's lying, that he's actually going to come after a greater share of the income and raise their taxes too. Isn't there something in there that, do you not believe him? Do you not trust him? Why is it that you think that he's not, apparently you think he's not being truthful?
Well, what I've asked for from the governor's office is some facts about how much that this tax increase would raise. I've asked for data in regards to how much extra above the current structural deficit that we have will this kick off. I got a response that we don't know. I said, how long would these rates bring in the revenue that we need in order to be able to operate? How long will it be before we need to raise rates? Well, we don't know what that answer would be. The governor has put forward publicly that we're just going to soak 3% of people and the rest of you are going to be fine. I doubt whether or not that the governor's numbers actually would do what he says he's going to do, because I've asked for specifics and so far we've not been provided those.
Senator McConchie, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for being here.
Our Reporters Roundtable is next. We're back in a moment.